We stand
Witness
ready
me,
to finish the
smegma
job
crazies,
now.
and welcome back to
Final
Mad
touch.
Max.
We can and must lay at Gash's stronghold.
Ideally, that will be the last time we hear Chum Bucket talk about the Jack, because at the end of this session is when I finally get over to Gash's territory, and we finally put together the Jack. Not the end of this video, we'll get there soon, but I am finally making progress on the story. The last video was the clip show. I went around Jeet's territory and picked up basically every piece of scrap I could find. There's only one spot of scrap that is left on the map that I didn't grab, and that's because we'll actually go there later, for Gut Gash. There's not really much of a point to go in there now.
Closing in on us.
I did make a few cool upgrades. I finally see another kind of car there. It has a giant grill on it. We won't really see too much of it. It pisses off pretty quick. But, yeah, I got the level 4 harpoon upgrade. And what that does is allows me to pull down fortified structures. It also lets me just quick pull off tires of cars. So that's cool. Our reload speed with the harpoon is also getting a lot better as well, which is definitely a plus. But yeah, if you find yourself in a high-speed chase with some vehicles and you just don't really want to deal with them right now, one of the best ways to get them to stop chasing you is to just yank off one of their tires. This does only work on unarmored vehicles, which, you know, some vehicles are going to have armor, but at this point in the game, it's only if you travel close to Gut Gash's territory are you going to find those cars with armor on them. So for now, it's extremely effective. I know what you're thinking. There was a bit of scrap back there that I missed, and I'm not sure if I go back for it. But don't worry, I'll get it eventually.
We're being attacked! Help me! Bleed out and bleed out! That master won't help you! Fall in with me! Come here!
Well, if you insist. Bye. See, I can't really speak as to whether or not that is definitely not an intended way to be able to kill someone in the game, and I kind of wish it was. Because just like having them up against like a waist-high guardrail and just being able to flip them over it into the abyss would be pretty dang cool. But no, that was just physics happening. Which, you know, sometimes games that are janky like this have a little bit of that, and sometimes it's fun, and then sometimes it's not so fun. but it's one of those double-edged swords. So, I tried to get a melee kill, or like a stealth kill on that guy, but I walked up too close behind him, and he got alerted before I could. I mean, credit where it's due, this game does not give you any awkward stealth sections. So, that's a plus. And if the stealth mechanics were bad, and they required you to do stealth, maybe it'd be a different story. But luckily they never do. As it is, the stealth kills are just sort of, they're there. Sometimes they work, and hey, it's a neat little thing where, like, Max just walks up behind a dude. And sometimes they don't work, and that's also okay.
All that water seems wasteful now.
There's been a little bit of conjecture in the thread about what exactly is the nature of the apocalypse that struck the Mad Max world. It's never very specified. Max brings up all these different things like, you know, plague and everything else. But exactly what kind of apocalypse would cause that? It couldn't necessarily be a nuclear apocalypse. Although, they do at different points mention that there's like some unpleasantness in the Middle East, so I assume there's some sort of energy crisis. Which doesn't make as much sense because there's all this frickin' gasoline everywhere. But essentially it seems to be some sort of large-scale climate change debacle, which, you know, maybe we're actively heading towards. Wouldn't that be neat? But it's never exactly clear, like, what exactly would cause the world to be like this, to have plague and infestation, and make people just lose their minds like this. And it's, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a, it's not been one of my areas of study, honestly. You know, at this point I do have to wonder if, you know, maybe if there was a large-scale nuclear exchange that, you know, caused this level of global warming and climate change and the waters receding, it could be a thing, for sure. I don't know what the overall effects would be. I know as climate begins to change, natural habitats are lost. And that becomes more and more of an issue, especially for some of the, well, the species we need to maintain our way of life. Or maybe not maintain the way of life, but life as we know it. Especially as you have like certain ecosystems start to break down, a lot of them rely on certain parts of the ecosystem, and then all of a sudden, holy crap, that part of the ecosystem is gone. Now the entire ecosystem is changing, and we don't know how to deal with it. You know, you have mass migration. Plus, you know, if the current
suffering. According to the Northern land, healers their skin of their dead. Tears.
I can't imagine drinking tears would be very nourishing. Maybe Stank Gum has one of those coffee cups that just says, what do you call it? Smegma tears? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, like the current rate of like climate is looking at the entire area around the equator turning into an unlivable hellscape, which is going to be bad for, you know, human migration. I don't think that's going to be the best. But it's one of those things, like, I don't know. I'm not sure if that level of thing would have happened here in the hell wastes of Australia that Mad Max always seems to take place in. Whatever it is, it doesn't happen immediately. It takes place over time. But, yeah, we'll see.
There's the lighthouse. Let's see if Blast Cap made it.
I got a little distracted here because I realized I completely missed my turn. Though this will show us something interesting with the harpoon's auto-targeting. Normally it's pretty good. It'll usually prioritize stuff like tires on cars and things like that, which is why this happens. There is a car inside the front of this camp. It's a scrapulence. And somehow, Chum was able to hit the car from behind all the stuff in the way and just yank off the tire. Normally this would be more of a problem, especially for a scrapulence, but luckily the lighthouse is right across the way here, so it's not nearly as long of a drive without all tires.
I'm going. Wait here.
Of course I will.
This is what you want. Come and get it.
Unfortunately, there are a bunch of Thunderpoons in this area, and normally I appreciate, you know, being able to use those at, like, every single turn, but I kind of missed them because I took a rock to the head and then got a little distracted. But, you know, taking out 3 folks with 1 barrel, also good.
All those things I bawled at you, it was just a spur of the moment thing. Nothing personal.
You know, he says that, but I wouldn't believe him. If another war boy does come into the area before the worker gets taken down, so like a wave of reinforcements, it doesn't happen often, but it can happen like maybe once or twice. He will just start up again where he left off. So whatever current level of buff they're at, that's exactly where they'll start off again. There you go. That's what a stealth kill looks like. Now never ask me for anything again. Like I said, it's nothing really impressive. It's just like, oh, I guess you can do this. And it's... It exists. It's inoffensive in its implementation. It's just kind of there. Which is fine. I mean, I almost get the feeling that if it wasn't there, someone would probably complain. You know, it's nice to have these days like this where you're just chilling out on the patio, in your favorite chair, just enjoying the sunlight. The game kind of randomizes its destructible debris. You may have noticed this before with like blowing up cars or kicking off doors or Jimmy bar opening doors. The randomized debris sometimes just gets in your way because physics. That was the case down there once we blew up that little oil pump. Some of the debris fell down and kind of blocked my access to the ladder. It's not something that comes up in a particularly bad way too often. It's just... it happens. And this is where I finally realized the Thunderpoons are here, and I feel bad I didn't get to use them. That was a neat touch. Max will take it with him and use it to slide down the ropes here. Most of the time, if you don't have anything equipped, he'll just use a shotgun. Otherwise, if you have a melee equipped, he'll use that instead. You know, because even when it's unloaded, a shotgun is still a useful thing. Improvised club, threat in case you have no ammo. which some people don't respond to threats, and that's fine too. In which case, the first use of improvised club still comes in handy. But yeah, let's take this scrappy baby back over to the lighthouse. Like I said, normally, without the extra wheel on it, trying to drive this thing would be a royal pain in the butt. Obviously, as you don't have 4 wheels, your handling goes straight to hell. It tends to drift in one direction. In this case, it could be worse.
We got a powder cook thanks to you.
I think part of it too might depend on which wheel gets ripped off. Like if you rip off one of the front wheels, then mostly you've lost your handling because it's a front wheel drive. If you rip off one of the back wheels, well, now you're losing your acceleration, which can be more of a problem. I don't know. It's tricky. The handling might be worse for the scrapulence, just because if you run into more stuff, there's a better chance that the scrap will just fly apart and you'll get nothing. That looks delicious. Though I guess when you're always just struggling for basic food to survive, you probably can't complain too loudly. But yeah, Jeet's stronghold is starting to look pretty decent. You know, we've gotten him quite a bit of stuff to carry his little community along. Still looks just a tad bit ramshackle, but nowhere near as rough as it was before. The water storage will give us a full canteen whenever we visit this stronghold. The maggot farm will give us full health, along with the full ammo belt. Every time we actually, the oil well isn't done quite yet. But once we finish that one, visiting this stronghold will also fill up our car's gas tank, so I think it's valuable to have at least one stronghold as a place where you can go to get your resources, especially if you're finding yourself in times of need. But as far as getting the threat level down to 0 for each area, the game doesn't really intend for you to do it that way. It does feel like you're meant to kind of follow on the story and then do a bit more and a bit more, maybe as you need car upgrades, but yeah.
Sit tight.
Yes, gladly. It is my sacred place.
The iron vice of Gastown's loosening its grip here. Some think a stranger, crazy-eyed and kill-frenzied, did this gruesome work all by himself. Yep, that's just what I heard.
Just one of those wasteland rumors. A legend, if you will. I'm sure it's nothing. So yeah, we're still locked to some of the engine upgrades until we get to the next area, but helping to upgrade Jeet's territory gets us more sniper rifle upgrades, and normally these aren't really so huge. You can increase the mag size, you can increase the reload speed, but as far as damage, the sniper rifle is as good as it's going to get. It never gets too much more impressive. Yep, side burners and everything else. A lot of this stuff we're not going to see for a while yet. But you know what? I think we could afford to jazz up our vehicle a little bit. We've been sitting here with this, primer, basic look for a while now. I think we can make ourselves look a little prettier, actually. What if we take that furnace body we got last time and give it a little bit of paint? Aw, yeah. Now we're looking handsome. You may recognize this paint job as the one that Stump Grinder was holding on to. And that's how we find more and more paint jobs for our vehicles, is by taking out top dog camps. Just a few more camps to take out in this area until all we'll really have left to do is probably snipers, minefields, and scarecrows, which is boring as hell, and you don't want to watch it. Minefields are the worst addition to this game, the worst bit of content padding in a game that has already padded a lot. But, we'll deal with it as it comes.
Whoopsie-doo. Strange gene drifter, you. You got some fine wheels rolling there. Is it a nitro boost I spot on an intake? If so, stranger, there'd be some fine spots for you to let that baby soar.
This is just giving us an opportunity to get more Griffa tokens. There's going to be some ramps around the area that we can just jump over. And if it looks cool enough, hey, cool, got it. Like a glove. Whoopsie-doo. I think somebody mentioned her accent sounds like the worst in the game, and I can't disagree. Still, that's about gonna do it for this video, so please join me next time, and until then, stay thirsty.